Racing isn't like typical sports where you can play in high school and get noticed and play in college and get noticed and get drafted to the professional level. In racing, it's a lot more ambiguous, and obviously it has a lot more to do with money and where you can get that and when you get that opportunity.
There are so many options, and that's really one of the biggest problems in racing, since ever. You got some guys who pursue go-kart for quite some time, become very successful in World Championships and European Championships and all that. And then at some point they decide to make the switch, and then they gotta, hit the track running.
I went from literally a year and a half of go-karting experience as a teenager. At age 21, I went to the Skip Barber Racing School for my first real racing experience, and 4.5 years later, I was a hired IndyCar driver. So I was on an extremely accelerated path. I was always a little over my head at every level.
Even if you're winning the race, you have a lot to improve. And I think having the feet on the ground and being humble makes you growing quicker, and makes you improving and showing you're developing quicker than the others.
And there's no one key, there's no one trick, but one of the biggest things I think that any young driver can do is drive as many different cars as possible and keep as many doors open as possible. F1 might look all fine and dandy on the outside, but realistically there's only about 10 guys actually making a living in Formula One. And there are so many opportunities in other open wheel series, sports car series, stock cars, whatever it is. My whole thing when I was young was I just said I wanted to be a racing driver. I didn't say I wanted to be a Formula One driver or an IndyCar driver or a NASCAR driver. I wanted to drive cars for a living.
I think racing takes a lot of sacrifice, and if you have to think about the sacrifice, then it might not be the right career choice.
Yeah, that is definitely, I'm still learning now. I'm still young, and just as we talked about how difficult it is to learn the fundamentals of driving a race car at this point in your career, it's not the hard part anymore. The difficult part, like you said, is the business side of it, and finding sponsors and things that actually work to make the on-track stuff happen.
There's no such thing as being too persistent. People can get annoyed, but that's okay. If the strength of your desire is so profound in terms of wanting to be the best, to get in the car, win championships, persistence is the ultimate virtue.
Be there, that's what I did. As soon as I got my license, I was at Laguna Seca every year. I was chasing around Chip Ganassi, Mike Hall, Barry Green, Kim Green, Bobby Rahal, you name it. I chased them. I literally chased them around the paddock on their scooters.
Being fast is only a really small piece of the puzzle. You gotta be fast, you gotta be consistent, you gotta be good on equipment, you gotta be smart, make good decisions. Every time you move up a series, the challenges are greater, and no greater than that last step from, say, Indy Lights to IndyCar or GP2 to F1.
It's never easy. It's very competitive these days. You have a lot of kids, very talented who are trying to make it.
You won't get a call at home sitting on your couch, let's put it that way. Every deal I've done has been at the racetrack. When it's all said and done, you got to win races. If you're going to be at indoor level, you win. If you're at a karting level, you win. You have to win, and you have to drive a lot. That's the biggest thing.
I don't believe you need a manager until you start making money as a racing driver. Then they can help you manage those opportunities, the revenues that's coming in, all of those sorts of things.
There are a lot of managers who are pretending to be, managers, and that's the big catch. A manager, for me, if you sign a kid, you need to bring something to the table.
I had never had a manager because I didn't trust anyone to help me in my career more than I trusted myself or my dad, advising me.
I'll be honest, my dad and I did most of my deals. Only kind of recently have we looked outside for some input and some insight, but sometimes it's tough to work with family. Everybody's different. So I think the best thing to do is just really look from the outside and try and see what makes the most sense for your situation.
I think some drivers can manage themselves, really, but I do think it's good to have one. I have one. It's just good to have the contacts. If you can get one, sometimes they're pretty expensive.
I think a young driver would be wise to have a good lawyer to look at agreements, but a manager can't be expected to go walk out into the snowstorm that is securing a motorsports opportunity when the driver's the one that should want it the most and therefore should be the most resilient in the face of the snowstorm every day. So point is, don't hire somebody and expect them to do a job that you don't want to do yourself.